Well, Lively is under fire yet again. Apparently, she had an assistant director on the set of A Simple Favor quit after making her cry. We have the Anna Kendrick rumors that we're going to get into. Lots of hot headlines with a very hot and feisty guest that you probably loved to hate on The View. I have Meghan McCain that's going to be joining us in just a sec, and I'm pretty sure we're going to ruffle some feathers. So, what better way to spend your Friday? Let's dive in. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. And dive in we shall. So much to get into today, but I did want to send some love to my pals at Pair Eyewear. I'm rocking my pair glasses right now. Thrive Market and Nutrafol. Everyone's been commenting about my hair on the gram. Shout out to Nutrafol. Links and promo codes are in the description below. But I know you're here for the tea, so let's dive in. It's piping hot. Please welcome to the show the host of Citizen McCain, the one and only Meghan McCain.
Oh my gosh, Zack, thank you so much for having me. Your hair really does look fabulous. So whatever you're doing, Nutrafol is great. And you were just on my podcast, so thank you for having me on yours.
Yes, I was just on your podcast on Wednesday. So, guys, go listen and leave Meghan a nice review on Apple Podcasts and let her know that I was your favorite guest. Let's have the Zack Pack represent.
Exactly. Yes, it was really fun. Thank you.
Yes, guys, happy Valentine's Day. We're Valentine. Do you have any Valentine's
Oh
Day
my gosh,
plans,
happy
Meghan?
Valentine's Day. I'm so sorry. I have to tell you, my husband and I had dinner plans and I'm like had a very long, intense week and we are both very tired. So we're just cooking at home now. What about you?
No, I'm prepared. I'm trying to lock down my travel schedule for next week. I have to go to New York, and now we're finally booking flights and stuff. And I'm like, why did we wait until the last minute to book things? Because now flights are astronomical. But I'm gonna go see our girl Erica Jane on Broadway next week.
Okay, so am I. So what day are you going? I guess
Thursday.
I am going Friday. But I'm very
Are you
excited.
Are you in New York?
My friend and I are coming on Thursday, so maybe we could link up in person. That would be great.
Okay, yeah, that would be amazing. I fly in on Wednesday and I
I have
fly
to tell
home
you,
Friday.
I've been so looking forward to seeing her. I saw her the last time that she was on Broadway, and it was the last thing I ever did before COVID, like the last public fun thing I ever did. And then the lockdown was like, I think like 8 days later or something. And
Yeah.
so wildly talented and just beautiful, and anyone who has the opportunity, it's like an incredible experience. Like she's really like born to be a showgirl. So I'm friends with her despite the fact that there's like some Bravo fans that really hate that. They're like always angry when she like likes my photos and is nice to me.
You're definitely a polarizing figure on social media. I mean, even when they post, I mean, I kind of figured we would get some love in the comments for what we said about Taylor Swift in the promo, but I was surprised. I was like, why? Like, people just like, are these people that follow you and they're just like wanting to like drag in the comments?
I have
funny.
A lot of hate follows, which I always find interesting because I don't follow anyone I don't like or respect. Like, I don't follow, there's no figure in any politics or media that I'm following because I hate them. But I do have a lot of people who are but I have a lot of, it's like half and half probably. But I really embrace being polarizing because I think there's nothing worse in this industry and politics, political commentary, and just media in general than being ignored and boring. And I know a lot of people who are ignored and they're very boring. So I'm 40 and I really embraced. I'm like, you hate me, you love to hate me. Like, glad you're still just watching and adding content.
That's kind of how I see it, even when it comes to like comments. Like yesterday, I was in studio and my manager, he's like, how are your comments? Are you okay? Is everything okay? Because I posted about RFK's confirmation, which I've known him for many years and was very excited about that. And I was like, David, engagement is engagement, and as long as they're commenting, it's boosting us in the algorithm, and like it's fine, whether it's love or hate. Like, I honestly, at this point, I feel like my skin has become Teflon because there's nothing that they can say to or about me that like hurts my feelings anymore.
Yeah, that's a great attitude. Definitely.
Well, actually, the best advice, and I think, are you friendly with Jenny? McCarthy. She used to be on The View.
I adore her.
Yeah.
I adore her. I love Donnie. She has been so kind to me in person, off camera. We have lots of mutual friends. And I think that I actually think like she and Donnie are some of the, greatest celebrities I've ever met. I cannot say enough about how wonderful they are, behind off camera, and I really, really respect and admire her a lot.
She sent me the sweetest text last night. I mean, I've known her for, I feel like at this point it's like 15 years.
Oh yeah. I don't know where
And
we're at. I just know her from like social
but
media.
I bring her up because the best advice that I ever got from her about that, because she's also very polarizing. She said that, you know, if you look in the toilet, you're gonna find shit. So when you look in the comments or you go on X and you want to see that, like it's there, you know, and it's. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not gonna look at it anymore. Because then I'll sit there and I'll like fight with people in the comments.
I really try not to. I really try not to fight as much as I'm like capable of. But it's funny because I don't think of Jenny as being polarizing. I think of her as kind of like American
Same.
girlfriend. Like she's hosts like, you know, the Masked Singer, and she's like so funny, and she's married to New Kid on the Block. Like, I don't know. I don't think of her as polarizing at all, but maybe it's because I'm really polarizing and like you are, but she's really one of the nicest and really was very kind to me when I at the like height of drama and intensity at the View. So I'll never forget that. But she had a
Yeah.
experience on the show too. So sorry, can I swear? I don't know if I'm like
Oh yeah, you're totally fine.
yeah.
No, yeah, I think the only reason people believe that she's polarizing is because of the narrative that the media is trying to put out about her in regards to, you know, her views when it came to autism and vaccines. And I think that has been a misbranding of her and even her position on things. But no, she's like so fun and so sweet. And like I said, like she'd sent me the sweetest message last night. Cause I mean, we've worked together in this integrative functional medicine world of, you know, helping kids with autism for so many years. Her son and my brother are the same age, both, and shared the same doctor. And it was just like a full circle moment for us to see RFK, who we've known. And, you know, I mean, I remember when I first met him and I was like, this dude is crazy. And then now I've developed such an appreciation for him and his willingness to speak out against, you know, a bigger system. But yeah, I'm sure you feel the same way with Tulsi. I know you were writing hard for her.
Yeah, and I like first I really am very excited about RFK being in that position too. I think you know, there's certainly some things that I like diverge with him on, which I do for everybody, but I
Yeah.
really genuinely believe he's going to make this country healthier. I think you know, I recently found out, this is maybe small and anecdotal, but like Skittles are banned in every country except here, and this
Yeah.
creamer I put in my coffee is banned everywhere. I stopped doing it because it scared me so much, but like, why are we why is our food poisoning us? You know, and I think chronic illness, especially in children, tackling that. And I saw him yesterday with his family. I saw the video of it, and I'm really excited for radical change in the country. And in regards to Tulsi, I'm like just so proud. I'm like feel like the proudest. I was texting with her this morning. Like I just feel like the proudest friend, and I'm so excited for her. And I genuinely feel like the country is already safer with her as the director of national intelligence. And you know, I don't know the politics of your audience. I'm sure there's a lot of like hardcore liberals that don't like me or don't like anything, but I just am really excited for this change across the board.
Surprisingly, I feel like I've weeded and scared all of the super diehard liberals away at this point. I feel like they ran. I mean, you know, they left in floods yesterday, especially after I posted on Instagram. But I mean, the audience is so fickle. They'll be back next week when they want an update on Blake Lively. So I don't. It doesn't hurt me at the end of the day. But no, I'm excited to see what Tulsi brings. I'm excited to see what RFK brings. Did you see the article in the New York Times that was like defending the food dyes in Fruit Loops? They were like, he thinks that he's trying to ban food dyes, but like if you look at it, the ingredients aren't really that different compared to other countries. And then they list out like all the food dyes that are in Fruit Loops, whereas in other countries they use natural dyes, and it was wild.
I just think that it's something particularly since like in the post-COVID time. I got really radicalized during COVID, as I'm like literally hundreds of millions of other people did as well. And hearing him speak out even during that time, not to get like we're just going to scare everybody away, but about the COVID vaccine, which I had questions about because I have a very good friend who had suffered very serious consequences after having the COVID vaccine. And just hearing even like another perspective during that time I always joke it was like the French underground. Like I felt like I was just having this like secret society
Yeah.
and connection of people. And I really just I think he's gonna do great things. I really do. And I think Tulsi's gonna do great things. And I don't know, for me, just of so many years of like, being criticized and socially ostracized for my
Yeah.
beliefs to be in this moment where we are in the majority. I'm sure you and I don't agree on many things too, but I'm sure we agree on other things,
Yeah.
Zach. But like to be in the majority and the popular majority is just a great, I don't know. I'm really feeling very liberated right now.
It's an interesting shift, and like I said, I did a lot of work with, families. I mean, we were, producing conferences in Dubai to help families abroad, and little did I know Onaisha was gonna take over Dubai, like we chatted about the other day. The audience loves Onaisha, by the way.
I do
Um,
too.
but the work that I did, it was crazy because yesterday, so many of those families that I haven't seen in years, were like reached out with their stories and they're like, I remember meeting you at the conference, or I remember talking to you at this event. And like, just know that the work that you guys all did forever changed our family's life. And that to me is the more important thing. And while I know that RFK can be very polarizing, and like I said, when I first met him, I was like, this dude's a bit crazy. But I have so much respect, and I believe that he will absolutely,
It's really beautiful.
make some good change in our country. Do you miss The View at all? Especially do you wish you were on The View given the current cultural climate?
I don't miss it at all, but I also that was not like I've been off of you like almost 4 years now, so it's been like, a whole lifetime. I've had children since then. I really don't miss it at all, but I also had like a really horrific experience working there behind the scenes, and I've been very open about it. They hate that I'm so open about it because you're supposed to lie. Jenny's open about it too, by the way. That's another
Yeah.
thing I'm bonded over. Is she's like, it was a horrific experience for me too. And so just I was thinking about that because I had been told you guys were going to ask me about this, and I even was trying to find like clips online. I can't find anything. Like I live in the Beltway in the DC, right outside DC, and I never hear about the show. Nobody ever talks about it. And when I was there, it was on the cover of the New York Times Magazine as the most important political show in the country, and I think it's a real tragedy. People in America, it's a heavily female audience. Women don't have an interesting, compelling political show to watch in the morning, and
Mhm.
I don't miss it at all. But, I wish they would like have the same kind of conversations we used to have.
Yeah, I also feel like I mean, I know there was always like the token conservative, right? There was Elizabeth, there was you, that kind of had that role, and you were always the one that was beaten up at the table. But I feel like, especially now, is the time for them to bring more of those voices to the table to really represent the variety of women that are in America. Or do you really think that they can't do that because the audience at this point is just so super liberal that they only want that echo chamber?
I actually found the audience to be very when I worked there, it was not the audience issue. They were actually very even if they didn't like me, they were like, "But I like hearing another opinion because it's, like, more entertaining." And, spirited debates and sometimes very heated debates it's good TV. The problem are the producers and the people running the show, and I just feel like, if I were producing The View, I would be like, "You gotta get, like, a young Zier in here who's very progressive. You gotta get a hardcore conservative. You need to get an RFK supporter. You need to get an independent." Like, it would be much more indicative of the country and the culture. But you basically have, boomers and older, who are the most, progressive left-leaning commentators in the country. And it's not representative of the views of the country.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I don't watch The View, but every time I'd see a clip of it, it's usually like Sunny reading some sort of legal disclaimer. And I just feel like it's become such a cultural joke at this point because I don't think it reflects like what is the view? There's really only one view that we get. And now they have, in my opinion, like fake conservatives that are kind of just there to give, somewhat of a differing opinion, but even they aren't even full, right or, right as in right wing, but like I feel like they don't. I don't know. It's not a well balanced viewpoint.
They'll all be on that show forever. Like they will never leave. Like I genuinely believe that the hosts will, short of them being fired, which I don't really see that ever happening either. Like that show is the way it is forever, and they're just gonna run it, into the ground with the same cast. And it's an interesting choice on ABC's part, but um You know why I don't miss it? Because it's not cool. When I was on it, I felt like it was like a cool cultural, like it was heated, like we had real debates, like we had like lots of interesting people coming on, and I just never hear about it anymore unless it's something in the personal lives of the hosts, like
Yeah.
happening to make news. And I just I don't know. I really like really am very grateful for the life I have right now and the things I get to do. And I really like living in DC. And um, I don't know. I wouldn't want to like if you gave me $1 billion, I wouldn't go back to that show because
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually don't know anyone. I mean, I know it still has an audience clearly, but I don't know. I just think it's a real shame that there isn't a show in the country or that show that is in the spirit of what Barbara Walters wanted, showing different
Yeah.
views and different ages and different demographics in the country. And like I said, it's just not cool anymore. And it's as the conservative woman that was on that show, for me, it's particularly heartbreaking. Conservative women are not represented on that show.
Yeah. So I did read your book, Bad Republican. And
Oh, God.
in it, you talk about in it, you talk about how when you were on The View, there were a lot of headlines that called you the Ice Queen, and that there were a lot of these leaks to the press, and you didn't know who was leaking it. And so right now, I kind of feel like Blake Lively's in that all of these things are leaking to the press amid her legal scandal with Justin Baldoni. A couple of headlines came out this morning about her getting an assistant, or not getting an assistant director fired, but an assistant director spoke out, and she said that she decided to step down because Blake Lively would make her cry on the set. This is her exact quote. She said, I worked with Blake on the first one, which is A Simple Favor, the movie she made with Anna Kendrick. We have the sequel that's coming out this May. But she said, I worked with Blake on the first one. My experience with everyone was absolutely amazing, except for a certain someone who is the reason I quit being an assistant director. I wish you nothing but I wish you nothing but the best with this, though. I know I cried my way home many nights because you try so hard to please someone who is never pleased and puts you down constantly. I can't believe it's actually getting back to her. Karma is real.
Wow. That's very intense.
Yeah. Now, do you think that everybody's just coming out with stories because it's the popular thing to do, or do you think people really are ready to just talk about their experiences with Blake Lively? Because we've heard she's been a little difficult to work with, but I feel like if you're not popular at the moment, anybody can leak something to a tabloid and they're going to run with the story because it's going to drive clicks.
You know, when I first heard about this story and it first came out in the New York Times, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so crazy." And then, but I like you because I've been in the media so long. I never make first judgments until I really know the whole story and I've really read as much as I can and do research. And at first I was like, "This is horrific, whatever." And I have since come around to Justin's side. And my big takeaway is I think there are a lot of people in media that don't realize that it's 2025 in Trump's America. And Trump's America is a very intense time and a time of real clarity. And people are very savvy about the media. They're savvy about social media. And I don't know if Blake Lively realized that like sleuths on TikTok, sleuths on the internet, like they're going to pull up everything you've ever said. And like, look, I saw a video. I've been very open. I've had fertility issues. I've had 3 miscarriages. Like I've had a whole journey. And there's a clip of her making fun of a journalist saying the journalist says, look at your bump, because she's pregnant, and she goes, look at your bump, like implying that she's fat or something. And then that journalist came out and said she had like had fertility issues herself. And again, that's one clip. We shouldn't all be judged on one clip, but I was like, this is not a nice person saying that. So I think that Blake Lively's got very serious problems, and I think she may be Amber Heard 2.0.
Oh, she's Amber Heard times 10. Like, the more we get info on this story, I mean, just this week, she now wants to, her latest subpoena is to all of the defendants, Baldoni and all the producers and publicists, but she wants their phone records dating back 2.5 years. And she wants everything, regardless of the subject matter, regardless of who the sender and recipient were. They want access to everything. And my thought is, it's like, to me, that was the biggest red flag, because she asked for an extension, which the judge denied, to finish putting her amended lawsuit together, or her amended complaint, rather. And if you need more time and now you're going on this seemingly fishing expedition, going to pull text messages from 2.5 years ago when the smear campaign allegedly took place last summer and the alleged harassment took place in the months leading up to that, then to me, that just sounds like you don't have a strong case. And at some point, you need to figure out a way to navigate outside of this PR crisis.
Can I ask you? I saw a clip of that I never watched Deadpool. It's just not like my kind of movie. My husband likes it, but I don't. And there's a clip that's allegedly the character Nice Pool is Justin Baldoni. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, I just saw this clip, but he's like making very fun of a person that you can very clearly see as like a parody of Justin Baldoni. And to me, I was just like, how? That's so mean. Like, why are you making a character in your movie that's a parody of your wife's director? Like, it just seems so petty and small for people at that level with that kind of fame and money. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't like mean people in general. And I think that I have a different impression of both of them now than I did before this lawsuit happened.
Yeah, if anything, the smear campaign was launched by her own team with the launch of this lawsuit, because I feel like now everybody's digging into everything. I mean, just yesterday, they pulled up an interview from 2009 in Glamour magazine from the UK where she talked about wanting to get Penn Badgley fired from the set of Gossip Girl when he was first cast because she just didn't like him. And then eventually she came around to see that he was a nice guy, and then she warmed up to him.
I love him. I mean,
he's so sweet. Yeah. But my point is, it's like now all the internet sleuths, all, the talking heads on TikTok right now, myself included, are digging through every single interview of hers and really starting to pick it all apart and seeing these statements that she's made. Or there was a variety summit from, I believe it was 2002, where she was talking about how she never gives her cards all up front when she gets cast onto a film, that they hire her as an actress, but she really wants to make sure that she gets full authorship over the film, but she doesn't disclose that up front. And she says that sometimes people feel like it's her pulling the rug out from underneath them, but that's just her strategy because she knows that she brings so much more to the table than just an actress.
I think that she's made a real tactical error with the lawsuit. And I don't know anything about Justin Baldoni. I respectfully did not know who he was before this lawsuit. I didn't watch that movie. And I don't mean that to throw shade. He's just obviously not at the same level that Blake and Ryan are. But now I feel bad for him. And I just how I feel like, again, I don't jump to things. I don't really love attacking women first or whatever, but I just feel like I've read enough and seen enough that I've made my judgment call. And I think that Blake Lively needs to take a major break and reassess this.
What I find so interesting too is we're seeing all of these stories about Blake come out on TikTok, in the press, in comments on Instagram, but we don't even have one bad story with Justin Baldoni. And right when the lawsuit dropped, that's when everybody would have come out on TikTok and been like, guess what? I was on the set of Jane the Virgin and he, made this inappropriate comment towards me or something. Like, we have none of that.
Yeah, I mean, not to kick a hornet's nest that I kicked last summer, but there was a time when people were sharing their JLo stories, and I shared my JLo story because everybody has a JLo story. And sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. And my JLo story wasn't a positive one. In my interaction with her. So I just feel like sometimes when there's a lot of smoke, there tends to be fire. And in this situation, there just seems to be overwhelming evidence that Blake and Ryan tried to take over that movie.
What do you think about this alleged feud between Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick? Speaking of where there's smoke, there's fire. We've heard rumors and rumblings that they didn't get along on the original A Simple Favor. They just wrapped production last year for the sequel. The sequel is premiering at South by Southwest in March. It's going to come to Amazon Prime in May. But so now there was an article in People this morning that says there's no feud. They're great. They have always gotten along. They look forward to doing this press tour together. They just don't hang out socially because Anna lives on the West Coast and Blake lives on the East Coast. And it's just a geographical difference that, is the real reason we don't see them hanging out together.
I mean, whether or not they actually have a feud or not, and I don't know, they're best friends forever now. Like the press and people, their PR people will spin that they are braiding each other's hair, having sleepovers every day. And I just think it's probably spin control. And Anna Kendrick probably doesn't want to be dragged into this mess either. So she's like, Blake's my best friend. Blake's like, she's my best friend. I love women. We're so great. We're both so easy to work with, despite what the actual truth is. And I don't know what the actual truth is, but it just seems like good PR spin.
I don't think that they were ever really close friends, but I don't know if I also buy into the fact that there was this big feud between the two of them. I just think they probably didn't get along together personality wise. And I mean, which is common with two lead actresses on a film set. Like Hollywood pits these women against each other, and that's like what Hollywood thrives off of is, the Betty and Joan feud. They have a Blake and Anna Kendrick feud that I think they like to fan those flames. Whereas I don't think that there was ever really a deep feud. I think they probably just weren't very close. So people picked up on their awkward chemistry when they were promoting the original film. But I don't buy that they're having martinis after taping for the day.
It's also okay to not be best friends with people you work
Yeah.
with. Like, I haven't actually really been best friends with that many people I've worked with before. Like, I tend to keep my circle extremely close and like tight, but I'm respectful and, it's good to like have vibes with people, but it's okay if they're not best friends. I think the problem is that Blake is sort of a very tainted person and brand right now, and also like when she was promoting her movie with Justin Baldoni, one of the things I thought was interesting was the way she promoted it versus the way he did. And I haven't even seen that movie, but I know it deals with very intense content. I don't know what you're allowed to say on the internet or not, DV. And I just thought that was even interesting too, that like she's just I never cared about Blake Lively before any of this. And now I'm like, she just needs, I don't know if her team understands like the deep PR problem she has. Like she has a very serious PR problem.
What do you think of the Taylor Swift of it all? Because there are rumors that Taylor Swift did have more of an involvement than she wants the public to believe. From allegations of her getting the original film's composer fired from the film, helping with some of the casting with Blake Lively's character Lily, the actress that played young Lily. Taylor Swift apparently had a role in helping to cast her. Taylor Swift had input with the scenes that Blake Lively was rewriting, and now Taylor Swift and Blake Lively, we haven't seen them together. We haven't seen Taylor speak out in support of her at all. Do you think that Taylor sees the PR crisis and wants nothing to do with it?
I mean, Taylor Swift, I think, is one of the most savvy PR, entertainers to ever exist on the planet. So I'm sure she's like, I don't want to be in this mess. But I also think Taylor, which we touched on my podcast, has a tiny bit of a PR issue right now as well. And I think that it's so important. One of the things that I have done in my life is like, I love coming out, doing interviews with people like you, like being loud. Like I, just did this whole thing with Tulsi. Like I love being loud, but I also like being very quiet and going away and letting people miss you. Like after The View, I didn't work. I mean, I wrote a column, but I didn't do anything on camera for maybe 2 years. And I feel like these women need to relax. It's okay to not be in the news cycle every day. It's okay to not dominate everything. And I think, Taylor Swift didn't win any Grammys. She wasn't really like featured in the way that I would have expected. Obviously, everything that happened with her being booed at the Super Bowl. Again, if they're asking my advice, which they're not, but if they were, I'd be like, you need to lay low, both of you. Yeah. Like you just need to let other people have shine. Let Chappell Roan be the best woman in music. Lady Gaga's got a new album out. Like, let these women have their moments. And, there were a lot of like rumors about Taylor Swift, like purposely putting songs out. So like Billie Eilish and other entertainers wouldn't be at the top. I think Charlie XCX, wouldn't be like at the top of the Billboard charts. And I just thought, even at the time, I was like, it's so shady. Like, why? Like, when is enough enough? So I'm sure Taylor, and I was like kind of a long-winded answer, but I think both of these women have PR issues right now.
I think we're at that point of enough is now enough, and people like she's too overexposed, and now her attachment to Blake Lively is just completely crumbling. And like we discussed on your podcast on Wednesday, I don't think that Travis is going to stay with her. I think he's going to be the one to pull the trigger on the breakup, and I think he has this level of fame that he didn't have prior to Taylor Swift, that now I think his ego is really going to go with what's best of protecting the brand of Travis Kelce, and Taylor Swift I don't think is healthy to preserve that brand.
Yeah, for some reason I don't think they're going to make it either. And I called Paige and Craig breaking up like 2 years ago from Bravo. Oh, yeah. And I got so much, oh my gosh, people are so mad at me. And look at now, I've been around a little bit. I'm 40.
Do you feel like they just get upset with you? I mean, I feel like we could have all seen Paige and Craig, like that was never going to last in the long run. Do you feel like people just hate on you for the sake of hating on you, regardless of what your opinion is?
I think sometimes people don't want to hear the truth about any situation, that they would like
Yeah.
rather live in a fantasy. And I'm a very like, I like direct truth, even if it's going to upset me, even if I'm going to be angry. Like, I never want to live in a fantasy world about anything. And I also feel like sometimes in pop culture spaces, because like obviously, like I'm on your podcast, like I've, like done a lot of pop culture things, which I think is unusual for people in the political sphere. I think sometimes people are like, why is this political bitch and why is that, like, make her go? I don't want to hear about anything like that. And but then there's other people that are like amazing. But like I told you at the beginning of the show, like I just cannot care anymore. I just think it would be worse if no one reacted to you. I think that's kind of the biggest kiss of death.
Yeah. Well, since you're predicting breakups, you're predicting Travis and Taylor.
Yeah.
You predicted and nailed it on Paige and Craig. You did on your podcast say that you believe that the Obamas were having marital issues. Do you think that they will be the first presidential divorce?
Yeah, but not right now. I this is just my opinion. No one has told me anything. This is not anything. This is my just opinion because I don't want to get sued or everyone really had a like was pissed that I talked about that. There's a lot, as I said on my show, there's a lot of rumors about them that are just that they basically allegedly lead separate lives. And there's divorce rumors that have been gone around a lot, but they're doing a lot on social media right now to like combat it. I think at some point they will get divorced. Now I don't know if that's like 5 years from now, or 3 years from now, a year from now, whatever. But I don't think it's happening now. But just from the things I've heard, and people really got mad at me about that for talking about it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know this was something we're like not allowed to talk about because it's been reported a lot of places, like in a lot of like tabloids and regular publications as well.
Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, you have to naturally question it, though. She wasn't at Jimmy Carter's funeral. She wasn't at the inauguration. We haven't really seen them together. He ended up posting a birthday tribute to her, but I feel like that was only because there was so much speculation about what the relationship is that it kind of felt performative. Um, yeah, I think it's obvious to anybody with two eyes and a critical brain to think that like something's a little off because they were like this power couple when they were in the White House together. And then in the last year or so, they've just really not been seen together very much.
Yeah, and I think the thing that threw it over the edge was President Carter's funeral
Yeah.
because that the inauguration you can make the argument, which I understand that she's like, I'm not supporting Trump and I'm a Democrat and I that's her decision. But I think not going to a ex-president who, by all reports, they had a very lovely relationship with, I still think that's very strange. But
Yeah. No, I agree. Um, Speaking of Trump, I heard he wrote you a letter. Have you guys like
he's
has the ice melted? Like what is
he
because
signed
you've been
a
very outspoken against him.
he signed a tweet I sent that was in support of his proposal about taking back the Panama Canal. My dad was born in the Panama Canal zone, and I've been to the Panama Canal several times, and I agree with President Trump on his assessment that we should take it back. It's so funny because I think there's a lot of Americans who are like, I didn't support Trump and I don't like his, rhetoric, but I like love what he's doing policy wise, which I do love, like, I mean, a very high number of what he's doing right now. Um, I am really big on forgiveness in my life, not for other people, but for myself, because I don't want to hold on to anger and resentment. And honestly, I've taken a lot of lessons seeing a lot of people make hating Trump their entire career and their entire
Yeah.
personality. And I've been really honestly grossed out by it. But I feel very hopeful about this moment. And for whatever it's worth, I don't feel animus or anything towards from Trump people either, from like MAGA people either. They seem to be like very happy that I, went to bat for Tulsi so hard. And I just take it moment by moment. My loyalty is always to my family and to my dad. But I don't know. I feel like this is sort of a new era in America in general, and I will, go forth with as much, cautious optimism as possible. But I haven't like talked to him in person or anything. He just signed a letter for me.
I feel like that's when I think I saw your tweet right after the election or shortly after it, where you said that, you know, you have this optimism about whatever the next few years are. And I said this on the show yesterday because I openly shared that back in the 2020 election, I voted for Biden and I didn't agree with everything that Biden was about. But for me, I was just like, our country needs a little bit of a break right now. Everything's too tense that like we need somebody as boring as Biden to kind of just help us coast through the next 4 years. And then I went into that presidency basically being like, let's see what he brings to the table. Like, let's, before I fully judge him, you know, again, I don't agree with everything when it came to Biden, especially at that time during COVID, but I was like, let's just see what he brings to the table. And ultimately he brought, you know, dimension and inflation. But I feel like now going into this Trump era, I'm like, let's try to approach it that same way, whether you like the man or don't like the man. Let's try to be, you know, cautiously optimistic and just see what comes. You know, everybody's talking about the price of eggs, and he's been president for like 3 weeks. And they're like, eggs have skyrocketed and it's all his fault. And I'm just like, we don't even, like, yes, the executive orders are coming in, but like, we don't know what the next 4 years are going to look like. And if we hyperbolize every single thing and turn it into a sensationalized headline, like, we're going to go crazy over these next 4 years.
One of the things I have been told, like privately, is that President Trump has actually very changed since his assassination attempt, that
Yeah.
he really did feel, you know, he was almost killed. And so maybe that's part of this as well. Like, and also, you know, I think probably, you know, in this new time of a new coalition where you have like RFK and Tulsi who are Democrats, like, you know, RFK was a Democrat like 10 minutes ago, Tulsi, I think like a year ago. You know, I think from my understanding is that in this White House, they really want a large coalition. They want to be popular among the American public. I felt really disrespected by the Biden administration on a lot of different levels, both personally and professionally. And to even just have a White House that is open and positive about people like me is just a nice vibe shift, honestly. And I want America to win because I feel like we've been losing a lot the past 4 years. And I've been really sad, really angry, really scared about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I want America to win. And I want us to be the, you know, great nation that we are. And as you said, having a dementia person for president who can't even give a press conference and is pardoning his son and has cocaine in the White House and we still don't know how it got there and I'm supposed to forget that and not care. Like, I'm over it. So I welcome this new Trump era.
And to me, it's so wild that people are like not outraged about those things, right? Like they were okay with the media gaslighting us into thinking that that wasn't a really big deal. Like anybody, like it was, and it was also like infuriating to see just the way that they would prop Biden up, knowing that he was not well, you know? And it's like, this poor man, you're also embarrassing him and embarrassing us as a country at the same time, you know?
When he
It was just
had
disheartening.
Debate, I wish I knew you then because I would have asked you to come on the show. That's it. But when he did his now infamous debate where it was obviously clear that he has non-compos mentis, he's got some kind of cognitive problem. I remember being like, this is the greatest modern con pulled on the American public. Like we literally had a Manchurian president. And Democrats, part of the problem I think why Democrats are flailing right now is every argument they've made against Republicans and Trump. It's hard to have teeth when you just have this guy who pardoned his entire family and pardoned his son. And again, like I still don't know how his health is. I've heard lots of rumors, which I'm not going to repeat because again, I don't want you to get sued or me to get sued, but like, it's very obvious the American public, he is not capable of running his own life, let alone the country. So I don't know. Even just having him out of office feels good for me. And, you know, by the way, it's not just us. He's polling wise, statistically, the least popular president leaving office in modern American polling. And he's the least popular living president in the country. Like, that's pretty hard to pull off.
Yeah, especially considering how much people hated Trump in his last term. Pivoting over to Housewives, though, because
sure,
I feel like
my favorite.
Because I know you're a big Housewives fan. I see you on Watch What Happens Live often. Lisa Rinna was just in Andy Cohen's hot seat. She was taping an interview for Radio Andy, where she's promoting her new podcast, which I don't love the name or the concept. It's Don't Talk About the Husband, and it's her and Harry Hamlin. But she, in her press tour, said that she believes Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is a sinking ship. And then Andy Cohen kind of grilled her, and he's like, "A sinking ship? You realize like your friend Erica is still on the show, and like it's actually doing Beverly Hills is doing well. It's performing better than any of their other Housewives shows." And she like kind of apologized for it, and then he said that was the most housewife apology he's heard from her in a while. What do you think? Do you feel like Housewives as a whole is on the Titanic and it's kind of sinking?
No. I mean, I think New York is. I really didn't like
Oh
this
yeah,
season of New York. I am like almost offended by it for a lot of different reasons. I don't like any of the cast members. They're just like influencers with a camera on them, and it's not why I'm
yeah,
watching it. I actually think Beverly Hills has been very great. I love Boz. Her new addition has just been like honestly such a breath of fresh air. I obviously love Erica. I love Dorit's vibe this season. I don't think it's a sinking ship at all, but I will say like Lisa Rinna is also someone that I've had like the luxury of being around a little bit, and she's just like a sparkle of a person. I've had like the loveliest time with her. I've been on Watch What Happens Live with her. I've met her just at different social things, and she's like a really cool lady.
yeah.
And she has, this is so funny, she has a line on QVC of clothes that my husband's aunt wears, and she like sent us some clothes for her. Like she's just like a really nice lady.
Yeah.
And I miss her on the Housewives. I would welcome her and Harry back. I liked her. I was never one of those people that really hated her, but again, like I'm a tough lady who's controversial, so I'm not gonna be like get rid of her.
I
But
think
I like her.
I I think that's what made her such a great housewife, though, is she wouldn't think about the things that she would say. She would just spit out and say some of the craziest and most outrageous things that just made for great television. I think you and I have those same traits where we just say things that get us in trouble often, but it boosts engagement and it can be wildly entertaining at times.
Yeah, I really, really think New York, they got to figure it out. But if they just continue with this cast, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I wasted so much time watching it. Have you watched any of it?
I watched the finale and I tried to watch the reunion. I couldn't really get into the I didn't I don't have an emotional attachment to these women that I don't really care. And I also, like you said, they feel like influencers, that are just trying to curate their image for this show that's just completely disingenuous.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. But I think the Housewives are modern soap operas. I personally like
Yeah.
the amount of escapism I've gotten from watching it. I will always like have a strong argument for why it's valuable. I did not like Dubai. That was the other one that I just like couldn't. It was, and I also feel like it was just like I didn't like the characters in that one either. But Salt Lake City is incredible. I'm
Yeah.
really excited about New Atlanta because Phaedra and Portia are coming back. I really obviously like Beverly Hills. I really liked Orange County this season. Just like fascinating with Jen and her husband and all that
Yeah.
drama. So, and I really thought Orange County was like very raw and very like, these are people with like very real lives that they're somehow psychotically letting cameras film. And I don't know, I
Yeah.
really enjoy those shows.
I feel like Salt Lake City is kind of bringing is holding it, and Beverly Hills is kind of holding Housewives all together. We'll see what Atlanta brings. We'll see what happens with Jersey. I
Oh yeah,
think if
Jersey.
anything, Bravo needs to maybe ice a couple of them, let them sit for a minute, and then do like with Atlanta, where you bring back some of the older housewives or the veteran housewives like Portia and Phaedra to kind of breathe new life into it with some new women. Because I think that's what works so well with Orange County is when they brought back Heather and Tamara, and then they mixed in Alexis, and now they're going to be bringing Gretchen back into this new season. I feel like you have newbies like Jen that people can start to fall in love with, but then you have these veterans that people have already developed that emotional investment in, which is why I think Dubai and New York flopped, is because it's an entirely new cast. And like, I just don't think we care to invest in 8 new women on a show in a format that we've already seen done.
And I loved OG New York. Like I still love
Yeah.
all of them. I was listening to our friend Heather McDonald's podcast this morning when I was getting ready for the day, and she was interviewing Sonia Morgan, and I was like, oh God, I miss her on my TV. Like I would take all the OGs back now, and
Yeah.
nobody cared. Like it was such a weird time when everything was canceled, and I just feel like if they were like, we're getting rid of this new one and we're rebooting the old one, no one would be happier than me. I would be so thrilled to have the entire old Luann and even freaking Carol, like any of these people, I would love to
Yeah.
have back.
Yeah. They're what it is they don't care.
They don't. Yeah.
Like they would just do and say anything. Like as hated as Ramona was, she was just 1000% herself, and it was wildly entertaining. I mean, they were like that's why everybody's in love with Onijah Robinson, the woman in Pakistan that's now lost in Dubai. They fell in love with her because she's just so unapologetically and authentically herself, as wacky as she may be. And that's what we fell in love with New York, was how insane these women were and how unapologetic they were.
Yeah, and they didn't seem to like be aware of the camera in the way that like these new ones are. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think happens though? Because every interview I see with Andy Cohen, he's like very defensive of New York and still thinks it, or at least publicly is saying it's amazing. And I'm surprised that Bravo would honestly continue the way it is, because it's like so unwatchable. And I know people love Jenna Lyons, and I'm sure she's a nice person personally, but like you're allowed to have your fiance off camera, and like you don't open up about anything, and like I'm not interested in your closet. I don't need to keep seeing it 30,000 times, and like I just don't think she's a great reality star. And I love reality stars. Like one of my best friends sent me a cameo from Tiffany Pollard of I Love New York
Oh yeah.
her last birthday, and it's still like one of my favorite gifts I've ever been given, and it's amazing. And like I love reality TV. I love reality TV stars, and these people are just not reality TV stars. And I do feel like I can say I'm like somewhat of an expert in that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they're reality TV stars. I think they're perfect for Instagram, right? Where you curate the image and you put a cute filter on it and you show off the closet, and like that's as deep as it needs to go, because we don't really get much from them. The most we got from was Uba and Bryn, but like we saw how that completely blew up by the end of the season, and I don't think they're going to bring Bryn back after all of this. Like, and that's the other thing that I didn't love about this cast, is like they immediately iced out Bryn in publicly when they were doing
I
their
didn't
press
like that
tour.
either, by the way.
They distanced themselves so hard from her because they know the public perception would be upset if they stand by her. And that to me doesn't show that it was indicative of a real group of friends, because like your friends are going to fuck up, right? I mean, shit, I'm sure I put my friends in hot water all the time with some of the things that I say on the internet. And yet, well, I mean, funny enough, that actually happened to me yesterday. I have one friend who has a really big Bravo account. He has a personal Instagram and a big Bravo account, and publicly commented on my support of RFK, and not in a nice way. And I'm just like, I've known you for so many years,
That's
and
the
we've been
worst.
friends for so many years, and you're gonna comment and be shady towards me when you have my phone number and we've spent hours on the phone. You've seen me at my lowest, and yet you can't even pick up the phone to be like, you support RFK, what the fuck? And if you called me as my friend and said that to me, I would be like, yes, and here are the reasons why, and we can have a conversation and move on from that. That's what real friendships are. But a lot of it is very performative.
In my personal life, and I try in my public life, I am very polite, and I would just manners wise, even if I disagreed with you. If you put something up, Zack, and I've only known you a little bit of time, but if you put something up that was like, whatever, AOC is my best friend, I just wouldn't come. I would just keep it to myself. I'd be like, that's okay. That's his decision. Like, I would never, I have had that happen to me before with like friends. I actually had it happen with people that I like had come on The View at a different time for a birthday thing I did. And I was really heartbroken after when they did it, because I was just like, this is so sad. And it wasn't even something I did. It was like this Whoopi making fun of me on a thing. And there was like a comment about it. And I was so sad. And I was just like, again, like, is it worth it for the 2 seconds of dopamine hit you get like punching someone on the internet to like blow up entire relationships? But I'm sorry that happened to you. It's very unpleasant. I've had it happen to me many times.
Yeah, and it's just unnecessary. To me, I was just like, it's not, because people know that we are friends. Like this person's been on my show. I've had them on stage at my live shows. We've gone on trips together. Like, to me, it's just like, you know what you're doing. You know that this is going to be a talking point for people that see the comments, because they're going to see the discourse. And, I think he was like, this is so crazy. And I was like, and I just responded, and I was like, I've been called worse.
That's a good response.
It's fine. Yeah, I mean, do you feel like, how do you sift through those friendships now then, though, for yourself? I mean, you've obviously are seen as a polarizing person. You're in politics, and now that there is a bit of dip over into like Hollywood pop culture, with the podcast, do you feel like those friendships are able to deepen, or do you kind of just have to keep them surface?
There's certainly relationships I have that are just on the surface, like, casual friends, whatever. But like, you and Carlos King and Perez Hilton come on my podcast, and
Yeah.
you're
Love
all
Carlos.
three. Carlos is an angel. He's a lovely, lovely man. Like, I really adore him, and I just think he's like brilliant on top of everything else. But I don't actually like. I find like for the most part, people are kind. It's just
Yeah.
like outside vitriol, whatever. But in my like personal life, I have a very, very tight, close circle of friends that I ride really hard for, and loyalty is very important to me. And I think it's just like the kind of life I've led for so long. And
Yeah.
honestly, just like privacy is very important. And even like this past few weeks, one of the things that Tulsi and I have been so like I guess like entertained by is there were so many young women messaging both of us, so many messages that were like, this is what friendship is, like friends
Yeah.
show up for each other and whatever. And I have like really loved like having that as well, because I think especially in like the political space, friendships are really hard to find. And then for women, I think like it can be like add an extra interesting factor sometimes. And I really like love my close friends like everybody else does. And the people who don't want to be my friend, it's your loss. I'm so fun, and like I throw great parties, and it's just your loss. And I don't want to be around fake people. And
Yeah.
I really love authenticity in everything, but I really love authentic friends. And for people that like comment things like that, it's just like I said, enjoy the 2-second dopamine hit you get typing that, because tomorrow is gonna be a whole new news cycle. And also, like, I have legitimately have friends in my life of all different political persuasions. Genuinely, one of my best friends is a very hardcore liberal, having a very hard time with Trump's win. And I love him, and he loves me, and I just show him grace and respect, and he shows me grace and respect. And it is possible if you're an evolved human being. It's just some
Yeah.
people make politics their whole personality. And if I don't do that, what's your excuse?
Yeah. Billy, sorry, there were a lot of questions that came
Oh,
in, but I decided to dip in. But Billy says, have people ever been mean to your face?
oh yeah, definitely. I had to leave a restaurant one time in LA.
Really?
Uh-huh. Like I told you, I was like, LA is the most hostile to conservatives
Yeah.
of any place. LA is very tricky. I have to be very careful when I go in LA. But it's rare. It's very rare. But it has
Yeah.
certainly happened.
Yeah, LA is a tricky place. I even like if I know there's something that I've said or posted that gets attention, then like walking into the gym the next morning, I'm like, okay, who's gonna be nice to me? Who's not gonna wave and say hi to me today? I was like, I need to test the temperature in the room. Um,
But like
it is
honestly,
who people are.
especially for you, Zach, like you probably for whatever you've lost, you have gained. There's a whole
Oh,
community of
1000%. Yeah.
people. And I'm sure like the other people who are the Maha people you're probably like their person now, So you
They
gain so much as well.
That's why, I mean, even if like, I lose a couple hundred followers one day, like like the embrace that I've gotten from the right and from the conservatives or people that are more independent or the Maha moms, like they are just the most embracing and the most welcoming and the most willing to sit down like yourself and come on this podcast and have conversations like this that, unfortunately, despite how loyal I used to be to the left, I have the friends that'll go in the comments and they'll say the things that they want to say, and it's refreshing though to see the majority now start to come to the surface,
I
the
love
silent majority that's now open.
I love free thinkers in
Yeah.
general, no matter what it is, and you're a free thinker. And I tend to be really drawn to those kind of personalities, just people who like really think for themselves on any level. And I think the world is drawn to that right now. I really think this is a new era. And I also I have compassion for my friends on the left, because you're not like in culture, you're not popular. And then just like voting wise, you're not
Yeah.
popular. And I was watching yesterday a podcast with Jon Stewart and Jen Psaki, and she was basically saying she's the old White House press secretary for Biden, and she was like, had no answers for how to repair the damage that's done. And I've certainly been on the other side of things, but I don't know. I think part of probably the reason why people are lashing out at you is because they probably feel afraid for their political future, and you're on the popular side right now.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Like, what do you see yourself getting into politics? Could you see yourself running for something? Like, I mean,
I
obviously you had the
think
View, you have the podcast now, you had the column, but like, what does that future look like for you?
I'm always involved in politics, even if I'm like not getting paid for it. Like there's always stuff people want help, advice, my husband and I to do things for them. And it's really a privilege. Honestly, like my dad has been dead almost 7 years, and to still like feel like people care what I have to say or what, want advice. Like it's such a blessing and a gift. I don't know what's next. I'm not running for office. I have said so much on the internet for so many years. I think it would ruin my life for 20 years. But I don't know what's next. I really just kind of want to see where things go with just everything right now. I have a hard time planning next week, let alone, a year from now.
I mean, listen, with your posts on social media, look at the president. Like, if Trump can
I
do
know.
it not once, but do it twice, at this point, the sky is the limit.
I know. I still feel like there's like a different. It's funny. I just joined another company called Two Way, and I'm going to be doing these like live shows with my friend Mark Halperin twice a week, and starting next week. And he's awesome. He's like an amazing journalist, and I love their team. But someone was like, "Do you remember saying this about him in 2012?" And I was like, "No. How the hell would I remember what I said in 2012?" And I was like, "Have I just ever not said something?" Like I'm always just saying something. But yeah. So there's always. I feel like there's always a tweet or something I said at some point. But I've got a big mouth and I like to talk shit. So
And that's
what it
why
is.
we ended up connecting.
Totally.
Well, I hope I get to see you in New York next week.
Yes, please message me. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, I would love to actually get to link up in person. But thank you for having me on Citizen McCain, guys. Go and subscribe, listen to Citizen McCain, leave a nice review, let Meghan know that the Zack Pack represents.
Thank you. Everyone
And
loved you. Like we had such a wonderful, overly positive response. So
good.
very popular, Zack.
Thank you. Well, and I've already told all of the Zack Pack, all of our community here, that when I go to New York, my mission is to find Onijah's family so that we can get her home from Dubai.
She's
That
still
is
stuck
going
in
to become
Dubai?
my personal. Well, the last update that we had, she was spotted on a flight from Dubai to JFK, but she was removed from the flight. They didn't let her fly for some reason. So now we don't know what happened to her after they took her off the flight.
Oh my God. I would put a camera on her. I'll watch every episode. I'll stream the whole thing.
Yeah, TLC needs to get on it. Like, this is the 90 Day
It's a
Fiance. They need to
TLC
find the husband.
It's a TLC show.
It's great. Thank you, Meghan.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Zack.
you so much. Like, anything else? Any new books or anything on the horizon?
No, I'm so boring. I'm like literally. I actually like just getting through the election was hard, and then I didn't expect to have so much to do post-election. So I just like I wish I had more for you. Just listen to my podcast and go to my two-way show that's starting next week, and I'll keep you updated. But thank you so much. Oh, it said she's not stuck in Dubai. Dubai is stuck with her.
Yeah.
I mean,
retraction. True. Yeah.
True.
Poor Shabana. Poor Pakistan. I'm sure misses her very much.
I know.
All right. Thank you so much, Meghan. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to listen, subscribe, review, all the things. I'll give some shout outs on Monday if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Go check out Citizen McCain, and shout out to this week's sponsors, Pair Eyewear, like I'm wearing right now, Thrive Market, which has my cabinet stocked and my fridge stocked, and Nutrafol if you want some nice healthy hair. Go and give some love to Pair Eyewear, Thrive Market, and Nutrafol. Links are in the description below. And thank you guys for tuning in. I was seeing all your comments. Jenny and Donnie are not getting divorced. I see that you guys love Meghan. Mallory, I saw your comments too. You've been very sweet. I know that you are very much on the left, and you are very sweet, and you represent strong. All right. Thank you guys. Love you. I will talk to you Monday. Oh, it's Friday. We'll have a members bonus episode this weekend, so stay tuned for that. We're shifting members only a bit. This is just a message to everybody that subscribes on Apple Connect, on Apple Podcasts. If you have a membership there, FYI, we may be switching that up a bit. So just stay tuned. I'll keep you posted. All right, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Talk to you later. Have a great weekend. And go RFK. Sorry, that's going to ruffle some feathers, but go RFK. All right, guys. Ciao for now. Let's make America healthy again. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Oh, and happy Valentine's Day. Hope you get laid this weekend. Have some fun. Find me a man. Any man. I'll take it. Send him my way. Tell Carlos King to slide into my DMs. All right, guys. Bye.